I'm Mark Halperin, New York. We're going to take a look at where the battle for control of the Senate stands. Lots of activity, both nationally and then in the key states. Democrats, of course, control the Senate now. Republicans need to net 6 seats to take control. 2 of them they still have in the bag, Montana and West Virginia. Other state they thought they had in the bag, South Dakota. That is now a big fight. The question there is Mike Rounds, the Republican candidate, has he found a way to stabilize himself? He is going off a little bit more on the offensive. The NRSC, the Republican Senate Campaign Committee, has a new ad there attacking both the Democrat and Larry Pressler. We'll see what happens there. Where are the other big Republican pickup opportunities? The 3 biggest opportunities then to get them the last 3 they need to take control, assuming they don't lose any, are Alaska, Arkansas, and Louisiana. All 3 of those right now, even Democratic strategists would tell you, are trouble for the Democrats. They're fighting to stay in the game. Those could be the final 3. The Republicans, though, have lots of other pickup opportunities. The ones that get talked about the most, of course, Iowa, which is still pretty much of a toss-up race, and Colorado, still very close. Those are the 2 most likely next ones for them to pick up. Where are the other 2, though? The other 3, rather, that Democrats still must defend? North Carolina, that's been kind of an outlier. Kay Hagan continues to be strong there. Republicans are pouring more money in. They'd like to try to win that race as well to give themselves more of an advantage. 2 I want to highlight. New Hampshire, Scott Brown, he's been behind in most polls. There's one public poll out this evening that shows him actually ahead. What you got in New Hampshire, though, is a lot of surrogates coming in. Rand Paul's coming in for Scott Brown against Jeanne Shaheen. You've also got Mitt Romney coming in. You're going to see a lot of activity there, including for people who may want to run for president. Scott Brown is not done yet. The other big thing there is there are a lot of debates coming up between Shaheen and Brown, and Democrats, Republicans rather, think that Brown can maybe get under Shaheen's skin in those debates. The other one to look at, Minnesota, not talked about much. You always see in Minnesota, at the presidential level and most statewide races, a natural tightening at the end. It is a politically divided state, even though it's normally thought of now as a blue state. Al Franken there has gotten a visit from Bill Clinton. Other big Democratic surrogates, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw television money pour in there from both sides at the end to see if they can make that race competitive. What can Democrats do to offset these problems of all these competitive races where they're defending seats? There are races now where they have the chance to pick up a seat that Republicans hold now. The one that's probably gotten the most attention, still most likely, is Kansas. Pat Roberts, no sign that he's really stabilized himself yet, but Republicans continue to try to take out Orman, the independent candidate, and hope that Roberts can come back. That's still the Democrats' most likely place to pick up a seat. What are the other ones we're talking about? Georgia. That is one that, again, Democrats remarkably bullish on that race. Michelle Nunn is running a strong race. That is clearly the second most likely pickup. And then, of course, Kentucky. The biggest news in the Senate battlefield on this day is Democrats, nationally, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, pulling their television advertising out of Kentucky. Their candidate there has had a horrible run in terms of her performance. And so if you take that off the map and you look at Democrats trying to pick up seats, still maybe in South Dakota to hold one, but Kansas and Georgia are the 2 where they're still on offense. Overall, positive issue terrain for Republicans to some extent. What's going on with ISIS, what's going on to some extent with Ebola. Republicans feel like they can drive this message of Democratic weakness. Democrats still relying on turn out the vote to change the electorate, to turn out more of the Obama voters, the coalition of the ascendant. If they're going to save their seats in these 3 most vulnerable ones, in Arkansas, Louisiana, and in Alaska, it's going to be turn out the vote that you can't necessarily pick up in polling now, which does show their candidates behind in most cases. I'm Mark Halperin. We'll have more on the Senate races on BloombergPolitics.com.